the National League. It is a conference. 2 or 3 teams at the very top, but in the middle, just pure chaos and calamity everywhere you look. Teams full of comebacks, defying odds, revivals, frustrations, and bullshit alike. Minus Miami and Colorado, they just suck. Yes, we'll even go over them. It's in the contract. In typical Braves mode, they're playing with fire in more than one way. They aren't as good as a certain other team in their division, but they should be serious contenders in October. Look at Marcell Ozuna. He's back to hitting everything that moves. Is that still the right thing to say about him? I mean, it really isn't for most of the hitters since they aren't in peak form. But Reynaldo Lopez's emergence into an ace proves one thing. He can thrive without Lucas Giolito. Chris Sale has reached a form we haven't seen since the last decade. They needed it too. Spencer Strider went under the knife. Braves of this year are individual pieces but lack the cohesiveness of a team. Philadelphia is a team. Atlanta's been humiliated by them far too often as of late. But if anyone has the pieces to achieve glory, it's these boys. Only problem, no Acuna again. His ACL torn like Atlanta's dreams. Although the last time this happened, they did win that long elusive World Series. Do not speak of regression with the Marlins. That word doesn't come anywhere close to describing this freefall. This is something else. This is an outright disaster. Rug's been pulled after the initial VC investment and a bunch of suckers are left holding the bag. You could throw this team in a red light district and nothing would happen. They're like Beavis, they're never gonna fucking score. Tim Anderson's been knocked out by fate itself and Avisail Garcia seeing Prince Fielder in his nightmares. Luis Ariz can hit, yes, but he was able to hit his way to the opposite goddamn coast. And the pitching? There's nothing left of it. No Alcantara. Yuri Perez was sacrificed to the Tommy John gods. Ryan Weathers and Jesus Luzardo are out long-term. Braxton Garrett's out. And Sixto may as well be renamed 60-Day IL. Tattered and shattered into a million pieces as penance for past crimes. The cost will likely be Josh Bell and Jazz Chisholm at the deadline. But hey, at least if you got ripped off on this team, you can get a free burger at Burger King. The Marlins just have to win a home game.
Hurry it up, will ya? We're hungry over here, look at us! My kids having a yellow guy!
The Mets season is in 2 distinct arcs. The early season was a classic story of lament and lol Mets. Did you see how horrific their May was? Hilarious losing and failure at every turn. Some fans wondering if things were better under the damn Wilpons. Jorge Lopez might have thought so, throwing his glove into the stands after another blown save, while miscommunication made us think the Mets were the worst team in baseball. He was told to fuck off right after this moment. Horrors, Lindor-led team meetings, and delicious schadenfreude all in one until a moment turned the tide. Grimace. A sweaty man in a purple costume threw a dime for a first pitch. Many Lowell Mets historians merely saw it as another chapter of hilarity. What it became was a rallying cry. After the mascot did his thing, the Mets followed his lead and came out of the abyss. An unprecedented June of amazing success. The Bats coming alive in more than one way. The emergence of Mark Vientos as a quality player. The emergence of Jose Iglesias as a man of singing after glorious wins. A surprisingly decent starting rotation. It's all here. Now the question is, can they keep this up? Winning has put the Mets in a tricky spot. Do they load up and buy, risking losing Pete Alonso for nothing? Or do they trade the polar bear to further load up in the future? I don't envy them for this decision. Either one has pros and cons. Maybe Grimace can be added to the bullpen to close out games. Could have replaced Edwin Diaz when he was suspended for 10 games. I take it someone wants revenge for last year's choke in the NLCS. The way the Phillies have performed in the first half, they want more than blood. They desire the souls of 1,000 enemies. And that alone may not be enough. Gaze at their hitting core. Trey Turner is apparently God. Bryce Harper is apparently immortal. Kyle Schwarber's just Kyle Schwarber. Trump avoided assassination, but Castellanos didn't avoid assassinating a baseball the day it happened. As is always tradition. Phillies pitching may also become a tradition someday. Like a winning hand, 4 aces in their arsenal. Nola and Wheeler were to be expected, but Ranger Suarez doing what he's doing? Christopher Sanchez is stopping hitters in his path. Even the bullpen is dominating. They don't talk about Taijuan Walker, though. They keep him in the basement crawl space. They can keep this up, get a few pieces at the deadline, and have Real Muto return to full health. The only thing that can stop the Phillies are the Phillies. Good Lord, what a team. The good news is that the Nationals are showing progress. They're a very streaky team, but considering the past few seasons, streaky is a lot better than shit. They have a core that might be starting to emerge. Abrams and Gore, James Wood just got called up, Dylan Cruz is on the way. Just isn't enough to make a move this year. That skid they've been on the past few weeks is more than enough proof of that. A bunch of pieces have struggled or have been cast off. Trevor Williams was doing well, but he's hurt. And Josiah Gray's about to be elbowed out of the entire season. Sell-off is slowly beginning, and I expect anything that isn't hammered down might get shipped on. Perhaps even Patrick Corbin. There isn't much else to say here besides hope that things can keep progressing, but do they have enough to get to that next echelon of teams soon? Baseball's a weird sport when it comes to that sort of thing. So, Cubs? Weren't you supposed to be good this year? Why the slumping face? In fact, why the slumping season? How were you suddenly unable to score runs for 2 months at a time? What the hell happened to Dansby and Christopher Morrell? They're both better than this, we know it. Cody Bellinger hasn't been peak Bellinger, but he's at least been passable. Until the injury hit. Look, I know Michael Busch is decent, yet he's the best hitter on the team? Starting pitching's good at least. Shota Imanaga has been great and then some. Jameson Taillon's bounced back. I wish the only downside was Kyle Hendricks falling off a map, but there's a big issue. The bullpen's putrid. Like a whale in the ocean, there she blows. Why are people shocked that they've blown 6 leads in the 9th this year? The closer's Hector Neris. Did they not see how bad he was in that role in Philly? It'd be better cutting off your own hand in most situations. Desiring relevance has led this team to a panic point. Do they hold serve, or do they throw everything at trying to salvage the season? The NL Central isn't exactly strong. Something tells me they might force the issue. In months past, the Reds envisioned a breakout season where their young talent takes that next step. Where consistency in winning was a standard to be set. Cincinnati makes their mark on the baseball landscape. That hasn't exactly happened. Still as streaky as they were last season. They are Ellie De La Cruz, the franchise. When they're clicking, they're sending piss missiles into the heart of their opponents. When they aren't, they're whiffing on every pitch under the sun. There's talent here, that isn't denied. What is the fact that their pitching has been mid-tier at best. Flashes of brilliance from Green, Abbott, and Lodolo, but not much else. Their bullpen that saved their asses repeatedly last year has been sluggish. It's not to say there's no hope. They do have a very positive run differential, so signs could point to a resurgence. Can they maintain their form headed into the break, though? A few small moves and tweaks, and they could be in the thick of things. It's a goddamn mosh pit this year. And after all the attrition in the starting pitching ranks, the Brewers haven't skipped much of a beat. Interesting. If I'm them, I'd take it to the bank and then some. To be fair, they're the only team in the NL Central to have a positive run differential and a winning record so far. This is all it takes to win this division? Very well then. I'll gladly take a Christian Yelich that's returned to his once great form. He shed off the injuries and carries the team like days of old. Solid depth and hope around him, but this is Yelich's baby. Plus a little William Contreras. Surprisingly, the pitching hasn't lost much of a step. And that's for one reason. The bullpen. Still as elite as it was at the end of last year. Arms for days and days. The scary part is that this is without Devin Williams. He's beginning rehab. The 7th through 9th innings may be on complete lockdown. Now the arsenal must be loaded to hopefully not shit it in October. Aaron Savale is the first piece to exact revenge on the likes of Burns and Counsell. I don't trust them, though. You know, the whole buying into them wholesale only to flame out horrifically every year thing. I'm gonna be more reserved this time. Everybody shut up and let me tell you about the future. Paul Skeens. By God, what a specimen. Slinging baseballs into the triple digits, stymieing every hitter he faces regardless of pedigree. Steven Strasburg's debut was something. Skeens and his fantastic mustache have been even better. He not only made the All-Star team as a call-up, he started the game for the NL. It's gonna be such a great thing to see him and Jared Jones in Dodger Blue in half a decade. They can't fix this team alone. The Pirates aren't a bad team, they're incredibly frustrating. Every positive stride undone by a bullpen that keeps ruining everything. Every great swing frozen by watching strikes right down the middle. Hitters turning into an army of Henry Davises pressing and flailing around. Considering that Rowdy Tellez went from the most hated player on the team to a hitting machine once he told Andy Haynes to shove it, I'm thinking this might be a coaching problem. It's obvious the Pirates have pieces, but they can't rely on 7 homer games being a regular occurrence. They need a lot more. Deadline should be interesting for them. And apparently Nutting's now saying he doesn't have any money. God damn it, man, you're proving every Yinzer on the street right. The spirit of St. Louis hasn't had the smooth flight that Charles Lindbergh had back in the day. In early May, they were one of the biggest jokes in baseball, and it was absolutely justified with their performance. Turns out when Goldie and Arenado aren't hitting, the team isn't good. But now, they're okay, I think. The metrics point to regression, especially with the run differential and record in blowout games, but they're featuring a winning record. For better or worse. At least they can finally stop blaming Wilson Contreras for being the devil this year. Goldie and Arenado have been better too, but not at peak form. Still, do you really see this team doing anything noteworthy this postseason? The pitching's been okay, but to me they reek of a wildcard series loss at best. Unless they find some miracle salsa somewhere, I don't see it changing. Holy Marmol and company dancing through the raindrops like they're Gene Kelly singing in the rain. But he never dodged rain in that movie. Well, the Gories are fucked. I'm puzzled. This year was supposed to be a step into the upper tier of NL teams after a miracle run to the World Series. Maybe I didn't put enough emphasis on the miracle part of it? I knew there was gonna be a struggle, but this? Just thank the good Lord above you aren't the Marlins. Stars of last year, the likes of Carroll and Moreno, haven't been carrying the team like they were before. Alec Thomas just isn't anywhere to be found at this point. Del Marte's still good though, so there's that. But what about the starting rotation of Envy? It's missing in action. Merrill Kelly's been out long-term with injury. Big signing of Jordan Montgomery has only been big in the nightmare season he's been having. The bullpen keeps blowing leaves. Is it really Paul Sewell's time to pitch? It's about 3 past him now. The NL wildcard race is still tight, and the D-backs are on a roll since June, but if they're not careful, it'll get away from them again. They surely don't want that, do they? Well, maybe they're rivals in the Phillies.
And fires. Base hit left field. Here's Happ. They're going to hold him up. Oh! It gets under the glove of Jones. It rolls all the way to the wall. Happ is in. Suzuki is in. Morel will stop at third. Now he's coming home.
I don't need to say anything else. Even uttering these words is a waste of my breath. Have fun with that Chris Bryant contract. The Dodgers are once again doing Dodgers things. In both the good and the bad. Equal forces that seek to balance out things in the great cosmos itself. Their hitters, for the most part, are a deadly force worthy of immortality. Shohei relentlessly annihilating everything with the stick, joining Mookie and Freddie in a triumvirate of death and destruction. Hopefully not Mookie's destruction. They've already lost Max Muncy long-term, more losses can't be had. Like past seasons, the starting rotation is being devastated by what can only be described as a Dodger plague. Kershaw hasn't pitched yet this year. Tyler Glasnow's banged up. Bueller's injured again. Joe Kelly and Ryan Brazier are on the 60-day IL. Bobby Miller suddenly turned into a trash fire. And Yoshinobu Yamamoto? He's out for a while too. It leads to a team that's good, but not good enough. Another round of this and they'll be victims of fate itself like last season. This is worst case scenario for LA. Second best. Phillies usurped them with a crushing sweep earlier this month. Insane luck can't always break their way. Action needs to be taken. They know damn well what they need to do, but they won't do it. In honor of Peter Seidler, San Diego's doing everything in its power to keep the flames of competition alive at Petco. It's working better than it did last year. It had to. 2023 was an absolute anomaly with one-run games and extra innings. They've leveled out there. Now rivals are weakened and the Padres are being underestimated. Look to the east and see Luis arrives. He fills a much-needed hole at second base. Just wish they could get out of that Xander Bogaerts deal, though. Regardless, they're one of the best hitting teams in baseball. Odd to say that with only a .260 team batting average, but that's how good pitching is these days. I only find it odd that the hitter leading the charge is Jurickson Profar. He's finally living up to his prospect type. It's good to see. Their pitching has also lived up to the hype for the most part. I say mostly because Joe Musgrove's dealing with another injury-riddled year. It should be satisfying, but the Padres' goal has always been a World Series, regardless of last year's calamity. Do they have a chance at it this year? If all things align, it's possible. A few days ago, the SpaceX Falcon 9 was undergoing a routine launch when malfunction struck. A simple propellant leak caused disintegration. The explosion destroyed 20 satellites and has forced the grounding of the spacecraft in a blow to their ambitions. I mention this because the Giants are in the same predicament. A routine launch that has led to catastrophic malfunctions. Straight up failure to thrive in the nature of life itself. Random blow-ups preventing them from reaching their true potential. Most of their buys in the offseason haven't worked out. Except for Matt Chapman, he's been good. Jordan Hicks has been alright as a starter as well. You wish the same for Jung-Hoo Lee, but he's been dealing with the aftermath of the hypothetical explosion. Blake Snell wasn't so lucky. He's straight up imploded. The hyped foil to Logan Webb hasn't been close to his true self. Camilo Duvall hasn't either. Who's ready to see his 5.5 ERA at Oracle set fires? So have the Giants in a way matched the SpaceX disaster. Pieces and flashes, but nothing else. Inconsistency abound and frustrations have to be setting in. What do you do from here? Pray for talent and ability to come through? But with the NL as it is, it's a tough choice to make in this economy.
Here's Ohtani. Walked his first time. Hits this ball hard. Way back to right field. Soto doesn't even move. Ohtani has homered in the All-Star game. 28 so far in the regular season. And in his second at-bat in the All-Star game, he launches a no-doubt 3-run home run.